Hello and welcome to the Raising Kellan podcast. My name is Marsh Naidoo and I blog at raisingkellan.org, where we curate resources for families experiencing disabilities. On today's episode 134, I chat with Tamara Tuckson. Tamara is a disability advocate extraordinaire, and she and her daughter McKenzie have co-authored a book, McKenzie Can Talk, as well as Tamera runs an organization called Mission to Advocate. As always, remember the content brought to you on this podcast is for your information only, and if you seek advice for your specific situation, to contact a trained professional. So grab that cup of coffee, put your feet up, and get ready for some awesome conversation. Today I'm joined by Tamara Tuckson, who is an advocate. She is also the proud mom of Mackenzie. Tamara has recently written a book, McKenzie Can Talk, which we are going to delve into further. And she is the driving force behind Mission to Advocate. Welcome to the Raising Kellan podcast, Tamara.
Thank you, and I'm excited to be here.
I want to know about you and Mackenzie's origin story. Tell the listeners a little bit about your story, please.
Mackenzie was diagnosed with Rett Syndrome at the age of 5. And I'd never heard of Rett Syndrome. When the doctor told me that she had Rett Syndrome, I asked Tourette's, was it Tourette's? And she said, no, it's Rett Syndrome. And she had gone on to explain about it. I like to share this, though, too, when I talk about this. Mackenzie was misdiagnosed at first, and I refused to accept that as the answer that was given to me. It was told to me when we attended the Child Development Center that Mackenzie had an intellectual disability. I just wasn't going to, I wasn't going to stop there. And I'm glad I didn't, because the doctor said, well, it's not going to change anything, but you can go to the genetics clinic. And I did. And that's when it came back that she had Rett syndromes. That's a big difference between Rett syndrome and intellectual disability.
If you don't mind maybe expanding on that a little bit.
Rett syndrome, it just means that so this was the diagnosis, that Mackenzie wouldn't be able to talk. She wouldn't be able to walk. She would not have purposeful hand movements. She would possibly have seizures and have to be fed through a tube. Now, that's what happens when you have Rett syndrome. So I knew that earlier Mackenzie was riding a bike. She wasn't talking, but she was walking. She was riding a bike. She could hold things in her hand. And with Rett syndrome, what happens is males only have one X chromosome. Females have 2. So mostly it is a female diagnosis because males don't usually survive. So for one, she was able to do things. She was normal at first, and it was just like she switched. The only thing Mackenzie could not do was talk. So when her X chromosome started going bad, she started losing the ability to have purposeful hand movements. She was getting frustrated. She was angry. She didn't have a functional way to communicate at the time. And so that's what made us go ahead and go to the Child Development Center to get to see exactly what was going on.
Talk more about your guys' educational experience and a little bit about that.
Okay. So after I found out about the diagnosis at the genetics clinic, I just went forward. I would go to conferences, and she started speech therapy. She started occupational therapy. We did TEIS to transition her into the school system. I basically wanted to make sure that I left no stone unturned to learn what was going on. But I did not know the biggest part that I needed to learn was my rights. I didn't know that. I had never been, it doesn't come with a manual when you have a child with a disability. My mother was an educator. She was a principal for 25 years. And I never knew, never even crossed my mind about how people would have to advocate for their students. So the biggest thing was me learning my rights, because there was an incident where the school in kindergarten was taking Mackenzie to the basement. Now, don't forget, we found out her diagnosis in kindergarten. So I'm just trying to even fathom the fact that she has this diagnosis. It's not curable, and what to do after that. So we ended up on the school system. She had a teacher that was taking her to the basement of the school as a tantrum plan. sent a note home to me and asked me to sign it. Now the basement is three levels to this school. So the basement is where they're keeping all the paper that nobody wants, all the computers, all the paint, everything. So I call this my they woke the sleeping giant moment. And why I say that is that's what made me start to learn my rights. That's how I started to advocate. That's how I started. So I graduated from the advocacy class, the volunteer advocacy class at Vanderbilt, and I just took off. And what really got me started too was I needed to heal. This had gone on for a complete year and I had no clue about it. Even though I'm taking her to school, I'm picking her up. They used the fact that she could not come home and tell me what was going on to their advantage. And I just promised after that, I said, I never want to feel like this again. And I never want anybody else to have to feel like this. So I just jumped out. I mean, I just literally, one of the requirements that they ask, you don't have to do, is that after you graduate from the advocacy class, that you volunteer to go help other parents to advocate for them. And I did. It helped me to heal. It helped me to get over the fact that she had been mistreated, and it also helped me sharpen my skills to keep the knowledge about what was going on. The laws changed so much in the disability world. By me going to volunteering to go to those meetings with the parents, like I said, it helped me to heal, but it was also empowering them.
So, from my understanding, Mackenzie is nonverbal, Tamara.
Yes.
As a mother, how have you come alongside Mackenzie to help her flourish and thrive? What did that take?
I'm gonna tell you, I felt vulnerable when I was in the meetings and I did not know my rights. I felt vulnerable. I also knew that the therapists at the school were overwhelmed. So what we did was we signed up. We just now stopped going to physical occupation and speech therapy. That's how long we've been going. And I was not the parent to sit in the lobby. I was the parent that knew by becoming an advocate that I needed this to transition over from not just therapy, it had to transfer over from home to school. And I needed to sit in that meeting to make sure that we had the skill, that she had the skills to do that. So that's when she first got her PECS book, was in the speech therapy at Vanderbilt. And we moved from the PECS book to the iPad, and then from the iPad to the Toby.
Just for parents that may not, or listeners that may not know, what are those?
Okay, so the PECS pictures, they're like little pictures with little action figures on them. You could almost say they're like cartoons, and they really make words. They have words. Like we have one that's in the back of the car. She can't pull her big computer out, so we made her a PECS book in the back of the car where she can just pick the picture and hand it to us. It stops so much of the aggression riding in the car. She was able to make choices. If we pulled up at a restaurant and she didn't like what we were choosing, she'd pull off the picture and say, I want a different choice, or I want to go to McDonald's. So giving her choices giving her a voice really made a big difference. And I'm going to tell you an example of that. I saved all the letters that the teachers in preschool and kindergarten would give me about she screamed, she would bite, she would cry, she was angry. How would you feel if every day of your life, no one allowed you to have a choice or felt like what you cared about and what you wanted didn't matter? Her world turned upside down when we got the communication devices. So the next device was the iPad. We put the PECS pictures on the iPad and she could use those to talk with at school. So we asked the school, once we learned at therapy, and that summer we proved that she could use it, the speech therapist wrote a letter to the school, to the teacher, and the speech therapist at school, and said, look, I would like for you all to purchase this. Here's the data that we've taken all summer to prove that McKenzie can use it. So then from the iPad, we went to the Toby. Now the Toby's a little different. The Toby is something that has to be, you have to have a script from the doctor to receive the Toby. So the speech therapist has to write up, she has to write up a letter, type up a letter, and put why McKenzie needs the Toby, how it would benefit her, and then send it to the doctor, and he writes a script for it, and then you send it to the insurance company for them to approve. Now, the process has gotten a lot easier for the filling out the form for the speech pathologist. The last time McKenzie got a Toby was during COVID, and Toby had set up a program where the speech therapist could basically go in and fill out the blank.
Now, how old is Mackenzie now, Tamara?
McKenzie is 21, and I'll tell you a little bit about McKenzie. McKenzie's 21, and I will always say that she is fashion forward because she loves fashion. She was a 6-year varsity cheerleader. She was president of her junior and senior class, vice president of her sophomore class. McKenzie is the Wesley White Student Advocate of the Year for the state of Tennessee. She is the Wesley Morgan's Tennessee Titans Community Hero. She works at Bubble Love Tea in the Farmers Market, and she is also the co-author of McKenzie Can Talk. I'm really proud that McKenzie was the first ambassador with this nonverbal for Metro Nashville Public Schools. But this didn't come easy now. We worked. It was not given to us. We worked.
Let's talk about the book that you guys have co-authored. Firstly, what was the motivation, and what is the book about?
Okay, the book is McKenzie Can Talk. What made there was 2 reasons that we decided to write the book. One, like I said, it really bothered me that McKenzie at first had no functional way to communicate and what she was having to go through before we found out her diagnosis. So I wanted to, a lot of people ask, well, why would you give the free, I call them little QR codes for people to find the devices? I said, because it's hard enough being a parent or a guardian or a teacher of a child with a disability. I don't want you to have to search for it. If you get the book, the QR code is right there in the back of the book, and it takes you right to the place that you can be, and it gives you a brief paragraph of what it does and how she uses it. And then it also takes you to the page where you could actually, if you feel like it fits the needs of your loved one or your student, you can go there and buy it. So that was one of the reasons that I wanted to make sure, but I wanted to give examples of it too. Her cousins always ask why she can't talk. And I was like, you know what? There are other people, young people, that want to know why Mackenzie can't talk. And they would often ask me, is she frozen? Is her voice frozen? What's going on? So I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book about this. I'm going to write a book and explain that why Mackenzie can't talk. I had the best publisher, and he told me, after his daughter is the illustrator. And he told me, he said, Tamara, we have been talking, and we don't think that the name of this book should be Why Mackenzie Can't Talk. It should be Mackenzie Can Talk.
Yes, ma'am.
So every device that Mackenzie uses, we put it in this book, whether it's from a high tech to a low tech, one that you would need insurance to pay for, one that you could pay for just right out of a magazine. So that was one of the, and then the third reason was, I said it was 2, but it is 3, is that Mackenzie, this is Mackenzie's last year of school. She loves school. She loves school, and she loves children. So I said, well, if we write a book, who wouldn't want the first ambassador, nonverbal, that's an author, to come to the elementary school and read the books and bring the devices so that seeing is believing, so they could actually see how she communicates. So that's our goal, is to go. We're already doing it in preschools, but that is our goal, to go into Metro Nashville Public Schools if possible. Proposition the principal and ask the teachers to see if we could come in and read. The book is on her Toby, so she can navigate it and read the book through her machine, and also just let them have the experience of seeing what AAC devices look like.
By Mackenzie actually doing this, she's just letting folks know, hey, even though I am nonverbal, I am still communicating, and I still have a voice, and I can still tell my story.
And like I said, I tell Mackenzie quite often that she's a role model, and that we have an obligation to inform people. So we've had Mackenzie had taken a dance class, and she was the first one to be inclusive. I'll never forget, it was a little girl that was 3 years old. No, she was actually 4, that came to dance. And she screamed when she saw Mackenzie. You would have thought she had seen Freddie Cooper. And she screamed and she hollered and she cried. We didn't get mad. We didn't get upset. Her mom came over and she said, I'm sorry. She just has never been around anybody with exceptional needs. She said, and there's no book in the school that is providing these, this type of inclusion. I mean, that it is portraying somebody in this light. So the dance instructor was going to let her know that if she keeps doing this, Mackenzie is still a human, and that we would she was there first. Mackenzie was there first, and that she wouldn't be able to participate. And I said, no, let this be a learning experience for her. Let her see that Mackenzie is loving and caring and is a human being, and that even though she cannot communicate, and even though she stems, she's still a dancer, she's still a cheerleader, she's still my daughter. I said, let's make this a learning experience. When that recital was over, we brought her roses, the little girl, and we saw her in Walmart a year later, and she ran up to Mackenzie and gave her the biggest hug. And her mom was like, I'm just so thankful. I said, look, this is what we do. I said, if we walk around being sensitive, we won't ever get anything done. I said, sometimes you just got to understand that people don't know. They've never seen it. They don't know. And we want to be the example.
So the book explains what AAC devices are, but it also tells Mackenzie's story as well, right?
It talks about family. It talks about how we're thankful to have a family that understands. So, when we go to restaurants, I take her device everywhere. She carries the iPad around in the mall. She carries that around at school. She takes the Toby to school also. But I needed something for her to be able to talk to her peers with in the hallway, in the cafeteria, so they didn't have to take the big, bulky Toby everywhere, because it is kind of large. So even with my family, we take it everywhere. And they know, you know what I'm saying, that it sits on the kitchen counter while my father cooks, and you know what I'm saying, it sits on the table in the living room while we're watching TV. So yes, they understand the PEX pictures. They've learned Mackenzie doesn't just talk with devices though. She talks with her eyes, she talks with her hands, she talks with her body, and she also talks with action. And I'll tell you a little bit about a story about that. Mm-hmm. There was a little girl that I would sometimes babysit for, and she came over. We were going to church one Sunday, and she dropped her iPad. So she comes and tells me that Mackenzie accidentally hit it out of her hand, and that's why it broke. So all the way to church, Mackenzie just kept saying, and I just couldn't understand what was going on. So when her mom came to pick her up, she jumped in her lap and she cried and she cried and she cried and told her that Mackenzie accidentally hit it and knocked it down on the ground. My daughter refused to eat for a whole day, and she loves to eat. So I finally figured out, is Kendra lying on you? And she was like, yes. So I called Kendra's mom and told her, I said, tell Kendra that the Toby not only can read Mackenzie's eyes, but it can also tell if you're telling the truth or not. She called back and she told Mackenzie, I'm sorry. And Mackenzie told her, you're petty, because she can't say a few words. But she would not eat to let me know that she had lied on her. And so I also have to pick up on stuff like that. So if Mackenzie's had a bad day at school and she immediately gets in the car and starts crying or is upset, I call the teacher back and I'll ask, what happened today? Because she's trying to tell me. Or even, what I'm saying, just so many, okay, so her dad and I bought her a pair of shoes. We didn't ask her, we just bought them. And we got home and she was going on a field trip. And I said, okay, you want to put on these shoes? And she was like, goes to her Toby. And she says, something hurts. And I said, okay, what hurts? My eyes. She was trying to tell us that the shoes were ugly and she didn't want to wear them. I said, okay. I often say that now I allow Mackenzie to lead me instead of me leading her. I say that, and I say that with passion. I say that with, I really enjoy it. I'll allow her to lead me and let me know what's going on, and so it works for us. I don't want her to be in a situation where she feels confined, or to be in a situation where she doesn't have choices, or feel like she's 21, but we don't treat her like she's 21. And what made me see that the most was I was fortunate enough to be on advocacy panels with her. And I was fortunate enough to be in there because she needed help with the device. So I would hear the other individuals say, feels like we're in jail. We want to live on our own. I don't understand why they can't trust me to ride the bus. And I was like, I had to have had to have a talk with myself and say, is this the mom that you want to be? Do you want your daughter to feel like she has no life? She has no say so? And I just decided not to be that mom. This too in mission is she and I. Mission to advocate is the two of us advocating.
Let's segue into that, Tamara. Tell us about Mission to Advocate.
So Mission to Advocate was formed in 2022. I was already advocating. I just didn't have it make it a business. So Anna from Bubble Love was always telling me, Tamara, you need to start a business. You need to start a business. You need to start a bit. And I didn't know where to start. So I signed up for Corner to Corner. And it's an organization that wants you, it's called the Academy. And what they want to do is produce over 10,000 entrepreneurs. So I took the 8-week class to learn about business. They teach you everything about business. So I took the 10-week class, the 8-week class to learn about business. At the end of the class, they have a pitch contest. Okay. At the end of the class, everybody in the class has to get up and pitch their business. And you're pitching for $2,000. You're pitching for over maybe $6,000 worth of prizes that come along with it. But you have to, once you win your class, you have to beat. Once you win your class, you have to beat the other classes. So I won my pitch contest for the class.
I bet you did. I can see that right now. Yes,
I won the pitch contest, and I pitched against 9 other classes and won the whole thing. And from there, I just took what I was already doing for free. I took what I was always passionate about and just made it into a business, a legit business. And with and so what it is I'm an IEP consultant. I'm a special education advocate. And I go to meetings with parents to help them come up with a plan. I help them in meetings to understand the verbiage that the average parent couldn't even fathom about what's going on. I meet with them prior to the meeting so I can listen. That's really what Mission to Advocate is about, listening. Let me help you come up with a plan, because that's what I needed people to do for me when I didn't know my rights, was listen and help me come up with a plan and teach me. Our motto is the Mission to Advocate will advocate for you till you become an advocate too, or your child can advocate for themselves. So that's how Mission to Advocate started. But I'm gonna tell you something. I've always done it for free, and it was a little different now that there was a little it was a charge that I was charging a little bit. And I just decided that Mission to Advocate was going to go further than just the IEP and informing parents about their rights. That Mission to Advocate is who funded the book.
Wow.
So Mission to Advocate is also putting out inclusive books.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yes, I'm thankful. This has been a journey, and it's really helped me to jump off the porch, because I would have never thought about making this a business. I was just going to continue to go to meetings with people to help them out, but I'm glad I did, and I hope we're able to still continue to bless other people.
Where to now? What do you and Mackenzie have planned? What are y'all excited about for the future?
We are putting out another book. All the books are going to be McKenzie Can. Okay. So the next one is going to be McKenzie Can Cheer. And we're going to talk about how she started in the City League cheering and left the City League and cheered in middle school and went to high school to cheer. So we want to talk about that journey. We want to talk about how the school embraced the inclusion, how they'd never seen it before, but did not have a problem with allowing us to show them how it could work. And that's the part that I really, Mackenzie's been in high school for 8 years, and I never thought I would leave her in high school for 8 years. But she has such a great community there. The kids love her. The teachers love her. She doesn't cheer anymore, but she's still an ambassador. She's still, she's still involved in the school system. And I said, why take her out? And when she could go another year. I wanted to make sure that Metro Nashville Public Schools was involved, that they were given their just due, but also to show what a high school and a middle school could look like when you just you know what I'm saying, become inclusive. When you just, if you know, if even though you've never seen it before, if you just sit back and allow it, we work together, you can be successful.
We absolutely can. Tamera, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us on the podcast. I am so excited for your future, for Mackenzie's future, to see more of your books come out, and just to hear your excitement and passion about advocacy. It's a huge role model for other parents. It gives hope, it gives encouragement, and we all need that. So
We
thank
do.
you. Yeah.
Well, I want to tell you, thank you for having me on. And what you just said, I needed to hear that today. Because sometimes as an advocate, we get discouraged. We do. We don't really think that we're making a difference. And sometimes we get discouraged. But I'm going to keep on going. And whoever's willing to listen and needs my help, I'm willing to be there for them.
Well, thank you for all you
Thank
do.
you.
And I don't know when or how, but I hope I get to see you in person.
I do too. Thank you.
Thank you for listening along on the podcast today. And Tamera and Mackenzie's book, McKenzie Can Talk, is available on Amazon. Just a quick reminder as well, today is February the 20th, 2025. Be sure to remember that this is the last day to register for Disability Day on the Hill, being organized and put together by the Tennessee Disability Coalition. So be sure to sign up and check out their website. That's tndisability.org. So just a quick recap of this. Tennessee Disability Day on the Hill will be held on March the 12th in Nashville, Tennessee. For many families like ours experiencing disability, there has been much concern recently, especially with regards to changes to Medicaid, as well as idea that's been talked about on a federal level. These are protections that many of our families need, with provision of resources such as health care, home and community-based services, as well as inclusive mainstream education. If these are points of concern for you and your family, I would love to hear from you, and you can contact me at raisingkellan@gmail.com. Remember, we stand stronger together, and as always, get to the top of your mountain. This is Marsh Naidoo signing off.